first day. The very first day, and that girl's already late. Oh, I knew this was a bad idea, and I told them it was a bad idea. But no, they wouldn't listen. Give them a chance, they said. She'll be fine, they said. So here we are. The first day. The very first day. And where is she? Not here is where she is. Well, I knew it was a bad idea. She could have been picking out trash along the road. Something that doesn't need a darn bit of commitment. But no, they stick her in here like this is some kind of a rehabilitation facility. Well, it's not. It's a museum. And I didn't sign up to be some kind of parole officer either. Well, I'm just gonna tell them. Sounds like a car pulling up. About time she got here. Oh, no, that's not her. That's a couple coming to the museum. Well, just great. She was supposed to do the tour. But how can she when she's not here? All that time going over everything. And for what? For nothing is what? Nothing at all. Welcome, folks. Welcome to the Frank Ferguson Memorial Museum.
Well, thank you. We were just heading down the road when we saw the sign for the museum and thought, why not stop in and see what this was? So, why don't you tell us, who was Frank Ferguson?
Well, now, that is a fine question. And I'm glad you folks stopped. But I'm not supposed to tell you.
You're not supposed to tell us who Frank Ferguson was? Here at the Frank Ferguson Memorial Museum?
Now, don't get me wrong. I'd sure like to tell you folks all about Frank Ferguson.
But you can't?
No, not supposed to.
Gee, I think we should go. Just now.
Well, let's wait a minute. Now, my curiosity has got me on this one. Now, Mr.
Slater. Arthur Slater. But you just can call me Arthur.
All right, Arthur. Can you at least tell us why you can't tell us?
Well, sure, I can do that.
Well, will you?
Well, if you want it.
I really would.
You see, there's a new girl working here, and she's supposed to do the tours. They were mighty insistent about that.
So, could you just get her out here so we can find out who Frank Ferguson was?
Oh, now you see, that's exactly the problem. I can't get her out here because she's not here. This is her first day, mind you, and we opened 15 minutes ago. And do you see her? Because I sure don't see her.
Gee, I think we should go.
You're probably right, but just one second. So, Arthur, you don't know how to do the tour?
Don't know how to do the tour? Who do you think spent his own time teaching that girl the tour?
You?
Well, you're darn right it was me. I've been volunteering here for, let's see, must be over 9 years now. Every Saturday. Now, Larry Milliken, he does Sundays. We're only open on the weekends, well, except in the summer when we get more folks passing through town.
Then since the young lady's not here and you can do the tour, why can't you just tell us who Frank Ferguson was and then we can get back on the road?
Because they said that the girl was supposed to do it.
Who's they?
The museum board.
Well, they're not here, obviously, and you are. So can't you just give us the tour? They'll never know.
Well, they sure would. I'm the president of the board.
I think
No, I'm curious now. So you're saying that it is your own decision
Now, I don't know about you folks, but I believe in democracy. In fact, that's one of the things that Frank Ferguson fought in World War II to protect, was folks' right to vote, and to have folks abide by that vote.
So that's it. Frank was a war hero.
Oh, damn it. Now see what that girl done made me do? I went against democracy. But Frank Ferguson was a lot more than just a war hero.
Like what?
Oh, no. I'm not making that mistake twice.
Okay, I think we should go now.
Well, I think you're right. But just one thing. One last thing. No offense now, Arthur. But this doesn't seem like the kind of place a young woman would volunteer at.
She's not volunteering.
You mean she's actually being paid to work here?
Paid? Of course not. We can't afford to pay anybody.
Well, if she's not being paid and not volunteering, then what else is there?
I can't say.
Oh, not that again.
So the board voted, you can't even say why she's working here?
Oh, no, the board didn't vote on that.
Then why can't you tell us?
It would be right.
I really think you should go.
No, I'm sure we can figure this out. Now let's see. She's not being paid and she's not volunteering. What could it be?
Maybe she's an unpaid intern.
Oh, no offense, Arthur, but Gene, I don't think this is the kind of place someone would intern at. Besides, I think that would still be considered volunteering.
Well, if it's not volunteering, then it must be involunteering.
That's it.
What's it? I don't think involunteering is even a word.
Well, it's not. But if she's not being paid and not volunteering, then somebody is making her work here involuntarily, and that is a word.
Who would do that?
A court, specifically a judge.
A judge. So what do you say? They said guilty. Guilty is charged. You're sentenced to 5 years hard labor at the Frank Ferguson Memorial Museum.
Oh, no. They said community service, and this is definitely community service.
Oh, I see. So is that it, Arthur? Is it community service?
I can't say.
So, there you have it. It is.
I said I can't say.
I know, but that's just it. If it wasn't community service, you would have at least said that it wasn't. Therefore, it must be community service. Isn't it, Arthur?
Well, now, maybe.
Wow, that was great. I guess all those murderers you've been reading have finally paid off.
She didn't murder anybody.
Aha! So what did she do?
I didn't say she did anything.
You might as well tell us, or Doris will Sherlock Holmes it right out of you.
Oh, if you folks would move back.
Why?
Just move back, it's all fine. Here you go. I'll explain in a minute.
What was that?
Oh, don't worry. The blade is just painted cardboard. Looks pretty real though, don't it?
But why?
Oh, there's something wrong with the dang trigger. Joe Foster's supposed to fix it, but he's out of town this week. His mother had a fall, and Joe's taking care of her until she gets back on her feet. Lucky though, it always gives a couple of thumps before it goes off.
Are you all right, Doris?
I guess so, but that thing scared me to death.
Why is that thing here?
Well, now it's on account of Halloween coming up. You see, Frank just loved Halloween. Oh, I remember coming here trick-or-treating when I was a kid. And old Frank would have the place just decked out to beat the band, with lots of little surprises to scare the kids. And so, we do a scary house for the kids every year. Now, Joe wanted to add the pit and pendulum this year, but he got the dang trigger mechanism messed up. Here, let me just put it up out of the way. Only take a second here. See Daisy? See Daisy? Like that? See there? Yeah, okay. Now, of course, when we do Halloween, there'll be a table with a victim on it.
Oh my goodness, I think we should go now.
Yes, let's go before there's any more surprises. But wait, one more thing. What do you mean about Frank decorating this place for Halloween? Why would he be decorating his own memorial museum?
That's when I was a kid. It wasn't a museum when I was a kid. It was just Frank Ferguson's house. This is the house that he grew up in. Other than this room, we have the whole house restored to just how it must have looked in the 1900, the year Frank was born.
So he was born in 1900 and fought in World War II? That's interesting.
Yep. But I'm not supposed to tell you about that.
Oh no, not that again. Okay, let's go.
Oh, hold on. I think I hear a car pulling up. Excuse me. Yep, it's her. Okay, she can give you the tour now.
I don't know. I think we'd better get back on the road.
Oh, come on, folks. It's her first day, and you're right here. And Frank was a heck of a guy.
Well, I think we should do it, Keith. I want to see the rest of the house if there's not going to be any more of your surprises.
Oh, no. Wait. Except maybe that one closet. See, Joe was going to have a Frankenstein's monster spring out at you when you open the closet door. But I don't think he's got that set up.
Well, we won't open any closet doors just in case.
And I'd appreciate it if you wouldn't mention anything about community service or such like that either.
Our lips are sealed.
It's about time you got here, young lady.
Sorry I'm late, Mr. Slater. My car couldn't start. I think I might have left the lights on last night.
You live 4 blocks from here.
I know. That's why I had to get my car jump-started.
You could have walked.
4 blocks? That's like almost a mile.
No, it's like 4 blocks. And about a 5-minute walk on a nice day. When I was your age, we walked everywhere, no matter what the weather was. Now, did you drive straight here, or after you got your car? No?
Absolutely, I promise. I came right here as soon as the car started.
Well, tarnation. Do you have your jumper cables in the car?
I don't have any jumper cables. I called Jimmy Simpson to come over and jump the car. He used his jumper cables. Why?
Because 4 blocks isn't enough driving to charge up your battery.
But Jimmy jumped my battery. Didn't that charge it up?
Well, most likely not. You've probably got just enough juice to get the motor to turn over.
Should I go drive it around some more?
No, it probably won't start anyway. And right now, you've got a couple of people here who want to take the tour.
Oh, okay. Right now?
Yes, now. They've been waiting. Now, just like we practiced.
Okay. Well, let's see. Okay. Hello. Welcome to the Frank Ferguson Memorial Museum. Let me tell you about Frank Ferguson.
Wonderful. So who was Frank Ferguson?
Frank Ferguson was born in this very house in 1900. Other than when he was off fighting in Europe in World War I.
That's World War II.
That's right. Other than when he was off fighting in World War II. He was a lifelong resident of this town and died at the age of 89 in the year 1989.
Yes, but why is there a museum dedicated to him?
I don't really know. What? I don't know. I mean, it seems like he was a nice guy and all, and he did fight in a war and did a bunch of stuff for kids and other people in this town and all. But he's not like somebody from a history book or a famous celebrity or anything. So I don't really know why there's a museum for him.
Arthur, can you help us out here?
Okay, now you see, Frank Ferguson helped save our nation in the war, and he did an awful lot for the folks of this town. And as you'll see, when Sidney gives you the tour, he had a darn interesting life right here in this town. Now, did he do anything to make himself famous? No. But now let me give you an example. You know who Laura Ingalls Wilder was?
Of course. She wrote the Little House on the Prairie book.
Exactly, that's right. And she's right famous for it. And there's a town in Kansas with a museum dedicated to her.
Well, that makes sense. In fact, we stopped there when we were driving through Kansas one time, and didn't we, Chief?
Yeah, I remember. You talked me into going 30 miles out of the way to get there.
30 miles, you say? But see, you already knew about her writing those books, and you read the books. What was the point of going 30 miles out of the way to a museum in some house she used to live in?
Well, she had a pretty interesting life.
Well, she sure did, but her interesting life wasn't on account of her writing those books. You see, in fact, it's the other way around. So she had an interesting life, and you got to go see her museum and find out all about it. Of course, you went in because of kind of those books. Now, old Frank, he didn't write any books, but he led an interesting life too, and did a lot for our little town here. So, folks like you happen to stop in, well, you get to know a little about a guy that was pretty interesting, even if he wasn't famous for nothing.
I think I see now. So it's kind of a way of saying that even normal people can have an interesting life.
Absolutely, that's right. But now, mind you, Frank's life was more interesting than most. Now, go on, Sidney. Go ahead with the tour.
Okay. Hello. Welcome to the Frank Ferguson Memorial Museum. Let me tell you about Frank Ferguson.
Yes, Sidney, you've done that part. Why don't you get to the war part?
Oh, okay. In 1941, when the United States entered the war, Frank Ferguson was 41, married with 3 children, twin daughters and a son. Frank's son was 18 at the time, but could not serve in the military because he was crippled due to polio.
Polio?
Due to polio he had had during his childhood. Frank, because he believed every family should contribute to the war effort, volunteered himself and was enlisted in the Army. If you step over here, I will show you some of the mementos from Frank's service. During the D-Day operation, Frank parachuted behind enemy lines as a paratrooper and helped liberate the town of Lucas. You can see in this picture, Frank, along with 2 other soldiers, shaking hands with the mayor of Lucas. Below the photo is a medal Frank received for bravery during the D-Day operation, and a Purple Heart medal he received for a bullet wound from a later battle. That wound ended Frank's military service, but did not end his participation in parachuting. In the early 50s, Frank formed a skydiving club at our local airfield. In the early 60s, Frank volunteered to help test new square parachutes. He even had to cut away and use his backup chute once when an experimental chute failed.
He must have been at least in his 60s then.
He sure was. The last jump he ever made was on his 80th birthday. And he only stopped then because he promised his wife years before that he would stop then. Of course, I think he only made that promise on account that he never figured he was going to live all the way to 80.
You know, that's amazing.
I told you. Now go ahead, Sidney.
But Frank wasn't just a daredevil. He was also an excellent woodworker and carpenter. Frank made all the bird carvings you see on our next exhibit. He won many awards for his work and was also the major force behind and main carpenter responsible for building a community center and converting a church building into a community theater shown in the photos.
Oh, I wouldn't have thought a town this size could support a theater.
It can't now. The theater closed, almost 20 years ago. But back then, the town was still growing and prosperous, and there was a general feeling of optimism about the future.
That must have been a long time ago. Oh, sorry, no offense, but what we've seen of this town, it really looks like that it's seen some better days.
Well, no offense taken. It's true. Farming just isn't what it used to be. I remember when I was a kid, our little main street always had me buzzing with energy. All the shops were still open and busy. And I still think folks, they had a sense of optimism about the town getting bigger. Now don't get me wrong, it's still a great little town to live in. But it's sure a lot quieter. And most of the kids, well, they hightail it out of here when they get out of school. So I guess we're just slowly grinding up.
That's too bad. It seems like a nice little town.
Unless you want to do anything, there is absolutely nothing to do in this town.
That's just what our daughter said when she was about your age. And our town must be 20 times bigger than this place. I think most young people feel that way about the place where they grew up.
But here it's true.
You know, I think that's enough about the town. Sydney, why don't you go on with the tour?
Okay. Until his death at age 89, Frank Ferguson did a yearly demonstration of his woodworking at the local school and ran a weekly craft course at the community center and at the senior year facility. He was a member of many service organizations and for many years was on the town council. Now, if you would like to tour the house, you can see the other exhibits and see what it was like when Frank grew up at the beginning of the last century.
Oh, I would like that.
Sure, why not?
All right. Now, Sydney, you're on your own for the rest of the tour now.
Okay, if you would like to follow me, we'll tour the rest of the house.
Enjoy the tour.
Well, tarnation. Morning, Mary.
Morning, Arthur. I see you have customers this morning. So how's it going and how did Sydney do?
She was 20 minutes late on her first day.
Well, maybe she had a good reason.
Oh, her car had a dead battery.
There, see?
She could have walked.
Arthur, young people don't walk. Since Jerry got her letters permit last month, I think she'd use the car to check the mailbox with a letter. But how did Sydney do when she got here? You did let her do the tour like we agreed.
Oh, no, like you all agreed. Oh, yes, I let her do the tour. And she just read everything off of her note cards.
Well, come on, Arthur. It was her first time. You can't expect her to be perfect.
But she read it like she was reading instructions on a cake recipe. It's clear that she does not want to be here.
Well, of course she doesn't want to be here. It was part of her sentencing, not a bonus for good behavior.
I still say it was a mistake.
Arthur, we have been over this and over this. We get money from the county for supervising Sydney, and we need it. The donations to the tourists aren't enough to keep the lights on, let alone put a new roof on this place. We need the money.
But what about
on the highway without so much as blinking.
The speed limit is 35.
I know, and the fact that most people go 50 accounts for a sizable fraction of our city budget.
With the speed trap.
With the traffic safety enhancement program,
Yeah, sure, right. You mean the speed trap.
the traffic safety enhancement program, which just coincidentally brings in much needed funds for our town. But as nice as speeding ticket money is, we would much rather have people come on down to downtown and have a bite to eat. Maybe shop at a shop or two. There's a lot more chance of people wanting to come back to our town if we get their money that way, rather than through the fines. And one of the ways to get people to stop is that sign on the highway, right to Ferguson Memorial Museum.
Yeah, now that it's back up.
Yes, Arthur, now that it's back up. But like I was saying, the sign is one of the ways to get people to stop and spend some time and spend some money in our little town. That's why everyone that stops gets a coupon for a free cup of coffee at the Main Street Cafe.
I bet your brother owns.
Yes, who's willing to give away free coffee just to get people to come to downtown.
And he's hoping those people will order some food when they go along with their coffee.
Well, of course he's hoping that. It's a business after all. Arthur, I get it. You think of Frank Ferguson as some kind of saint. And you want people to stop in here and really to learn what a great guy he was. No, I admit, I'm not old enough to remember him like you are. But my parents say they brought me here trick-or-treating when I was tiny, although I don't have a memory of it. But I do know that Frank cared deeply about this town. And I bet that if Frank thought this little tribute to him helped the town in any just a little bit, well, he'd be all for it. And don't forget, Frank cared particularly for the kids in this town. Well, Sydney's not exactly a kid, but if her working here can maybe make a difference in her life, I think Frank would be all for that too.
Well, okay. I guess maybe you're right.
All right, fine. So, what was that?
Oh, Joe must have got the closet done after all.
Halloween?
Yeah, Joe was bringing up a Frankenstein's monster that would spring out at you when you open the closet door. I guess he got it to work.
Arthur, you should warn people about that.
Oh, I did. At least I warned the couple taking the tour. He must have forgotten to warn Sydney. Well, maybe that'll learn her to get here on time. From the sounds of it, Joe must have done a pretty good job of it.
Oh, wait, any word from him? How's his mother doing?
Oh, I haven't heard anything. It'd be nice if you could get back here and fix his pit and pendulum.
Why? What's wrong with it?
Oh, nothing you need to worry about.
Are you sure, Arthur?
Yes, but maybe you should just stand right under it.
Arthur?
Oh, that antique furniture, it was beautiful.
The great Frankenstein. He really pops right out. And his head just flies right off at you. That's quite a twist.
Yes, wonderful.
Well, glad that you all enjoyed the tour. I'm Sarah Wilson. I'm mayor of our little town. And we sure appreciate you all stopping in to see us. And don't forget to pick up your coupons for a free cup of coffee at the Main Street Cafe. Best coffee in town and mighty good food too if you're hungry. And let's have a little look around downtown.
What do you say, Jeannie? Feel like having an early lunch?
Sure, why not?
Well, thank you folks for stopping in. Now, don't forget to sign the guest book, and we do have a donation jar there by the door if you'd like to make a contribution to the museum.
Thank you, Arthur. And thank you too, Sydney. You did quite well for your first time.
And I loved that flying Frankenstein. It was even better than the surprise pit and pendulum.
Arthur,
It's fine.
well, we'll talk about it later. Now, can I walk you all out? I'd like to tell you a little bit about our shops we have downtown. Our motto is for small
Thanks again. Arthur, appreciate it. And you too, Sydney.
You folks have a great rest of your day. Come back and see us anytime. Take care. Thanks again. Well, we survived. Sorry, I forgot to warn you about the closet.
It wouldn't have been so bad if the head hadn't flying off at me.
I don't think it's supposed to do that. Where'd the head end up?
Oh, I think it rolled under a bed, but I'm not sure.
Well, I'll go look for it. You know, why don't you take a couple of coupons down to the cafe and get us a couple cups of coffee? Free coffee is one of the few perks of working here.
But you didn't think my car would start.
Sydney, it's only 2 blocks to the cafe. You can walk.
Okay.
Oh, and Sydney,
Yes?
when we close, I'll get my jumper cables and I'll help you start your car.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, and Sydney,
Yes?
I guess maybe you did all right for your first time doing the tour.
Thank you, Mr. Slater.
You can call me Arthur, Sydney.
All right. Thank you, Arthur.
Boy, I sure hope that head didn't roll too far.
Sorry I'm late, Mr. Milliken. My battery was dead again this morning, so I had to walk.
Oh, just call me Larry. We're not that formal around here. Sorry to hear about your battery. Been having trouble with it?
Oh, it all started yesterday morning. I was 20 minutes late. Mr. Slater was pretty mad.
Well, I imagine he was. But don't worry about Arthur. He could be a bit of a grouch, but he's really a nice guy once you get to know him.
That's the funny thing. I really got the impression that he didn't want me here. He made me so nervous I could hardly do the tour. But then when we closed, he helped me get my car started.
Well, that sounds about right. Now, did you hear a lot of, when I was your age?
I think he did say something like that.
Yeah, I would have been surprised if he hadn't. Arthur seems to think our generation was the last one that had any sense at all. But let me tell you, we did all kinds of crazy, stupid things back when we were your age, and that includes Arthur. He just chooses not to remember.
Did any of you ever get drunk and crash your friend's car into a road sign that was for a museum out on the highway?
No. No, I have to admit, you gotta speak with that.
So, do you think that's why Mr. Slater doesn't want me working here?
It's a lot more complicated than that. Look, I'm volunteering mostly just to get out of the house 1 day a week, 2 during the summer. When you're retired, it's important to have things to do. Now don't get me wrong. I have great memories of Frank Ferguson, and I love telling people about him and showing them around the house. But now Arthur, well, he takes it a whole lot more serious.
He certainly does, but why does that make him grumpy?
I guess you could say that Arthur's sort of hungry. You see, we grew up in a time when everybody drove great big gas-guzzling American-made automobiles. Farming was still a good way to make a living, and, well, back then we didn't have any reason to think any of that was going to change. But it did change. The world changed. The country changed. And, well, it seemed like places like this, they just sort of got left behind. Now, I don't particularly like that happened, but, well, I see it just as the way things go. I don't much like smartphones or Facebook or Twitter or any of that social media stuff, but, well, it's just the way it is and not much I can do about it. But now Arthur, he feels like himself and his whole way of life is getting left behind. And he's sort of mad about it. He figures it's not his fault, which it isn't, but he figures it must be somebody's fault.
So, he thinks it's mine?
Not so much you as a person, but it's what you represent.
What do I represent?
Change. Look, Arthur sees this place as a shrine to a bygone time. Well, he could sit in here, safe from a changing world that, for lack of a better word, scares him. Then there you are, a young person that never knew Frank, and with him being told to let you tell Frank's story. So I guess you're that changing world that's busting in on his little sanctuary.
Wow. I never thought about it like that. How'd you figure all that out?
Well, when you're retired, you got lots of time for theorizing. But, of course, it's really just a guess. I'd say it might be accurate 80, maybe 90% of the time, but remember, it's still all just a guess.
So, what's your guess as to how I can make him stop resenting me being here?
Mainly time. Like I said, Arthur really is a nice guy, and given enough time, he'll get used to you.
Well, I've got plenty of that. I have to do this every other weekend for the next year.
Yeah, I understand that's not your best choice of how to spend your weekends. But now, if you want to hurry up the process with Arthur, the best thing you can do is learn to do the tour. The best you can, like it's real important to you, even if you have to pretend. See, if Arthur thinks you care about this place, that's going to go a long way toward his accepting you as a member of our little club. And frankly, it would probably do him some good if he thinks Frank's memory will pass on to another generation.
I'll try. But honestly, I'm still not sure why this museum exists at all.
I don't blame you. A lot of the people that come in here don't end up understanding it either. The main reason it exists at all is that real estate prices were in the dumpster when Frank died. His wife and son had both passed away before him, and his two daughters had moved out to California. They decided they could do just about as well by selling the house, or donating the house, getting a tax credit as they could by selling the thing. Honestly, Frank would have been embarrassed by the whole thing. But it was a good project for the town. I mean, lots of people contributed time and all the antique furniture you see in the rest of the house. Honestly, I think this house, locked in time, it's the best part for most people. Now, we keep a scrapbook that shows how it all came together. You know, I think that would probably be a good thing for you to look through and get acquainted with the place. Let me go get it. I think it's upstairs.
Ah! Oh, I should have warned him about the closet.
That darn Joe!
Sorry, I should have warned you about the closet.
It wouldn't have been so bad if the thing hadn't blown off at me.
I know. It did the same thing to me yesterday when I was showing a couple the house.
Well, I guess that spiced up the tour just a bit.
For the guy, it was his favorite part of the tour.
Well, here's the scrapbook. It was right there behind the headless Frankenstein.
Thanks. I was thinking about Arthur. If he doesn't like the present, then what? Would he like to go back to when he was young?
You mean the 60s and 70s? No, I'm pretty sure he doesn't want to go back to that mess.
Then when?
I think he'd like to go back to a time that I call never happened ago.
What does that mean?
It means that Arthur sees this place in the past of a golden light of what he'd like it to be. Alas, poor Yorick, I knew him well.
What is that?
Shakespeare.
It is?
Indeed. The Bard of Avon. It's one of his most famous lines.
No, it turns out it's not.
Of course it is. It's from Hamlet.
No, it turns out that's one of the most misquoted lines of all time. It's, alas, poor York, I knew him, Horatio.
That darned internet. Okay, it's not Shakespeare. But all the world is still a stage and we are all still players.
Just not doing Shakespeare.
No. We are certainly not doing Shakespeare. But anyway, my point was that Arthur wants to think that there was a simpler, better time in the past, like Hamlet, pondering the skull of his long dead jester.
Ew.
Morning, Mayor.
Morning. What's with the head?
Oh, I was just practicing my Shakespeare.
With Frankenstein's head?
Well, I didn't have a skull handy. Alas, poor Yorick, I knew him, Horatio.
Don't you mean I knew him well?
Not according to the internet. By the way, if we're being perfectly accurate, it's not Frankenstein's head either. It's Frankenstein's monster's head.
Do we have to be perfectly accurate?
I guess not. After all, we're not doing Shakespeare. Ah, the Bard of Avon.
Maybe the Bard of Newburgh.
Not quite the same ring. But anyway, what brings you in here today?
Oh, I was just out giving Terry a driving lesson, and I saw a car I didn't recognize in the front, and I thought maybe you had customers.
Terry's driving.
Got a permit last month.
Really? Boy, time really flies. Anyway, that's Evelyn's car. Mine's in the shop, so I had to take hers.
Well, Cindy, I'm glad to see you got here on time today.
Well, to tell the truth.
She even beat me here.
Mom, come on, let's go.
Just 1 second.
That's what you always say.
Terry, I'll be done in a minute.
Mayor, if I could get you to move back this way just a bit.
Why?
I'll explain in a moment. Just please hurry. Well, dang! The mechanism must have gotten stuck.
Cool. Larry, you've got to get that thing fixed.
Now stop worrying. Joe will most likely be back in the next few days, and he'll get the church fixed up before we open next weekend.
What about today?
Some people yesterday said the pendulum and Frankenstein's head flying off were the highlight of the tour.
Until somebody gets impaled.
Oh, now, Sarah, the blade is made of cardboard. Nobody's going to get impaled. And we have plenty of warning to move people out of the way. Now, you just get back to Terry's driving lessons and everything will be fine.
Yeah, Mom, let's go.
All right. I do want to get out of here before any more Joe's little surprises go off. But I don't like it.
Yes. You just get back to the common safety of teaching a teenager how to drive.
All right. Sydney, I can't believe I have to say this, but I want you to keep an eye on these two guys. You have to be the adult in the room.
I'll try. Larry, why did you lie about me getting here before you?
Oh, a little white lie once in a while never hurt anybody. Besides, it made the mayor happy. And besides that, we don't have to be completely accurate. After all, we're not doing Shakespeare.
And that's intermission, folks. Head down to the Houston House right down the street, and we'll see you in about 25 minutes. Don't be late coming back.